Welcome to Lesson 7 in our course in Process Thought. In the previous lessons, we focused on the preface to the book. In this lesson, we will turn to Part 1, called the Speculative Scheme, and in particular, we will focus on one paragraph in the first chapter. It's a very famous paragraph, and it reads as follows. In all philosophic theory, there is an ultimate which is actual in virtue of its accidents. It is only then capable of characterization through its accidental embodiments, and apart from these accidents is devoid of actuality. In the philosophy of organism, this ultimate is termed creativity, and God is its primordial non-temporal accident. In monistic philosophies, Spinoza's, or absolute idealism, this ultimate is God, who is also equivalently termed the absolute. In such monistic schemes, the ultimate is illegitimately allowed a final eminent reality beyond that ascribed to any of its accidents. In this general position, the philosophy of organism seems to approximate more to some strains of Indian or Chinese thought than to Western Asiatic or European thought. One side makes process ultimate, the other side makes fact ultimate. Whitehead is right. In much philosophical theory, maybe all philosophic theory, there is an ultimate which is actual in virtue of its accidents. What we see around us is the plurality of the world: tables, chairs, trees, stars, molecules, living cells, people. We see finite realities. But we can imagine a kind of deep source, an ultimate source of which all of those actualities are expressions. Many people imagine this ultimate reality as kind of like a sun, and the finite realities would be rays emanating from the sun. But Whitehead says something interesting. He says that this ultimate is capable of interpretation through its accidental embodiments, and apart from these actualizations, is devoid of actuality. Now, what is an accident? In a Whiteheadian context, the word accident does not mean something unfortunate or undesired. It means something surprising and perhaps delightful. It's a manifestation or expression of the ultimate reality. It could not be, and yet it is. So Whitehead is saying that the ultimate reality itself, whatever it is actual by means of, by virtue of, the finite realities that actualize it. Now, he calls this ultimate creativity, and he does believe that it is truly ultimate. It is the activity of which all finite realities are expressions. But it is not more real than its accidents. And then he says something interesting. He says that God is not the ultimate itself, but God is instead the primordial, non-temporal accident. Even God is an expression of this ultimate reality, but so is everything else. Now, we will learn later that in Whitehead's philosophy, God has two aspects, a non-temporal and a temporal aspect. We'll learn that Whitehead believes that God is both a lure within the universe toward order and novelty, and that God is also a receptacle for everything that happens in the universe, sharing in the joys and sufferings of all living beings. But here what we note is that God and the ultimate reality are not precisely identical. In that paragraph, Whitehead also characterizes monistic philosophies. In most monistic philosophies, says Whitehead, people wrongly equate God and the ultimate reality and then speak of God as the absolute. And then this absolute, this ultimate, is illegitimately allowed a final, eminent reality beyond that ascribed to any of its accidents. Whitehead disagrees. The ultimate is not more real than its embodiments. So where does this leave us? In Whitehead, God is real, but God is not more real than the many entities in the world. They are real too. The world is real, but it is not more real than God. God is real too. And both God and the world, both God and the universe, if you will, are actualizations of this ultimate reality, which he calls creativity. This has led Whiteheadian thinkers to propose that there may be in Whitehead multiple ultimates. Now, to be sure, in this paragraph, he speaks of creativity as the ultimate, of which all things are expressions. But in other ways, God is ultimate, in that God, not creativity, is the lure toward order and novelty. God, not creativity, is the empathic receptacle for all the world's sufferings. So you might say God is the ultimate actuality, whereas creativity is the ultimate reality. But there's certainly a sense in which every finite reality, every star, every planet, every molecule, every person is ultimate too, irreducible to something beyond itself, not merely an expression of the ultimate, not merely an expression of divine agency, but with agency of its own. So how many ultimates are there? Well, it's possible that the world's religions are centered in different but complementary ultimates. It's possible that some of the world's religions are centered in the ultimacy of creativity, some in the ultimacy of God, and some may be centered in the ultimacy of finite realities as they're connected one to another. Whiteheadians are open to that possibility. Now, at the end of that paragraph, Whitehead makes an interesting statement. He says that in this general position, the philosophy of organism seems to approximate more to some strains of Indian or Chinese thought than to Western, Asiatic, or European thought. One side makes process ultimate, the other side makes fact ultimate. In Whitehead's philosophy, as we will see, being is real. Things do exist. The past exists as remembered in the present. It has a kind of facticity to it. And yet, for Whitehead, no being can be separated from its coming into being, its becoming. And in Whitehead, ultimately, everywhere we look, we see things that have come into being or are coming into being, and the process of coming into being, the process itself, is part of what's ultimate. He senses here that Asian ways of thinking may be more sensitive to this event or process-oriented way of understanding the beings of our world. In Whitehead, beings are becomings. Beings are happenings. They come into being. This concludes our lesson. I look forward to seeing you next time.